Good day. Once again, another beautiful day here up in the sunny northwest of Scotland. And I want to talk about something which was on the Lotus Eaters this morning, I believe, or maybe yesterday. And that is the idea of relocating migrant hotels, or more specifically, just the migrants to an island somewhere. Rupert Lowe mentioned, I think over a year ago, the idea of temporarily storing the people who arrive on small boats on a Scottish island somewhere, with a tent and very basic provisions, and he said, let the midges do the rest. Now, I would like to point out that I think this is partly a good idea, but I want to expand on it and describe a little bit more detail the practicalities of how such a thing might work. There are many uninhabited islands off the west coast of Scotland, but I wouldn't choose those ones. The one I would choose is North Rona, which is about 40 miles or so northwest of the very north coast of Scotland. And there's a lighthouse on there, which was manned until a few decades ago, but it's completely uninhabited now. And there's a helicopter landing pad, and so people could arrive there by helicopter or by boat. Now, it's probably not big enough to accommodate hundreds of thousands of people, but I would say that there should be a new policy introduced where all new arrivals, you arrive on a boat, you go to North Rona, and you can wait there until you're processed, until your so-called asylum application is processed. They could, of course, be given a tent and supplies of drinking water and very basic, tins of beans and tins of tuna, something like that. And there would need to be somebody there, or a team, I would suggest, from the army or the navy. There are basically armed guards. And if the migrants, if the people who are there are fighting among each other, then somebody needs to stop them from literally killing each other. For the small number of women and children who arrive on these small boats, maybe they could be accommodated somewhere else, separated from the men. But I think it's an important thing to isolate the men, many of whom, I don't know the percentage figure, but we do know that many of these so-called asylum seekers are quite rapey, and they take an unhealthy interest in our children. Now, as a precautionary measure, there's no test you can do on new boat arrivals, but as a precautionary measure, I think they should be stored somewhere where they are well beyond swimming distance of the nearest woman or child. And once it becomes apparent to, news spreads fast. If the people who are waiting on the coast of France and those who are intending to go there to then get to Britain to essentially be freeloading off the British taxpayer, once they discover that they're actually going to go to North Rona and be among many, many people like themselves, that's kind of a disincentive. And I think many of them will simply stop coming over quite quickly. So I think Britain needs to take some decisive, strong action. And like Hungary and Poland, we can just say to the European Court of Human Rights, no, we're not doing that. I think Hungary pays money to to stop those European laws or international laws being enforced. But the human rights laws, of course, human rights are important, but a lot of people take advantage, they take the piss, and this country, are seen as a weak touch. We're weak because we're not enforcing the laws that are already there properly. And we're allowing piss takers to do their thing. So there was talk in this podcast of the Lotus Eaters about, send them to, is it Tristan da Cunha or something, near the Ascension Islands in the Atlantic, and also the Falkland Islands. But I would say, no, don't do that. Those places are inhabited. Those places do have women and children. Do not send any of these migrants and potential paedophiles and rapists, do not send them anywhere near where there are women and children. And furthermore, those who are arrested and convicted, and those who have already committed these crimes, of course they should be deported. But if there is some technical delay about getting them deported, send them to North Rona. That could be renamed Pedophile Island or something, not to be confused with the Epstein Island. But that's a whole other can of worms. And just one more point: the commenter who I made a video about before, who insists that rapey men are simply men and that Islam has nothing to do with it. That is partially correct, but it's not completely right by any means. There is an obvious tendency for those who do follow the so-called religion of peace to be among the most rapey people around. And sadly, it's a cultural thing, and something which is anathema to what we would describe as common decency. Anyway, that's enough for now. I will make another one presently.